Hey there to our 180 subscribers, our future subscribers, and all the people that secretly watch us without subscribing. Please excuse my somewhat slightly messy hair. I was out in the wind. But anyway, I just thought I would do a little bit of a story time here on a topic that I've touched on at different times. I don't think I've really fully explained, but maybe I have throughout the videos. I'm not really sure. If you have any sort of nickname, I'd love to hear how you ended up with it, because a lot of people, they get nicknames as kids. I never did. Nobody's actually given me any nicknames. I just kind of had my own that I came up with, sort of. So I will explain, so you're not just sitting there wondering what I'm talking about. But back in 1991. 1991. So there was this thing called BBSs, which I have talked about in a previous video, and it stands for Bulletin Board System. And this was like pre-internet. This was the internet before the internet, where people would literally, they'd get on their computers and they'd call somebody else's computer, and they'd get on there and they'd type a message, like a public message, or they'd play games, or they'd even send private messages, whatever. And then they'd log off, and somebody else would log on, and they'd read the messages, and they'd go reply to them, and then they'd go and take their turn on the game. They'd log off, and somebody else would log on. And so that's what it was. And there was, like, I lived in Redding, California at the time, and I don't remember how many we had. I would guess that over the course of the time that I was using them, we had a total of about maybe 30. Not all at once, I don't think. I did keep track of them for everybody and posted updates every month, so that if somebody found one of them, they'd have the whole list of everyone that was available. And so it made the community grow, and that's a whole thing in itself, and I did video on it, so I won't get too far into that. But the reason I ended up in that in the first place is because my dad was sending messages to my brother for a girl that liked my brother, and she wanted to stay anonymous. And so my dad created this name Tina, and he would send these messages, although they were in Spanish. I have no idea what they said. But he would send the messages to my brother for this girl. And then after a while, my dad got to where he was getting tired of doing it and asked me to take over. And so I started off as Tina on there. And after my brother knew what all was going on, I changed my name on there so that it was something that was more me. And then my account became about me instead of about somebody else. And I started going by Amethyst. And I used that name the entire time I was on the BBSs. And then one day, I was trying to figure out, well, my ex decided to help me keep in touch with my brother, who had moved away. And my brother told him to sign me up for a mud, also in the video that I talked about before. But this one's about the names, okay? So I won't get too far into it. But basically, so I tried to use the name Amethyst. It would not let me because of reasons that I didn't understand at the time. Doesn't matter. So I tried using a different name, and it was a very short-lived name. I don't even remember why. The reason was I couldn't keep it. And so then I decided to go with Sapphire. But writing Sapphire the way that it was written, I didn't think it felt like me. I dropped one of the P's out of it because it just, to me, seemed too formal and square and stiff and like seemed too professional. Okay, and so I started going by Sapphire with one P. Very intentional. I did not misspell it by accident. I knew exactly what I was doing. It just felt more like me. And so I used that name all through my whole time on MUDs, or the remaining time on the MUDs. And then because of gossip, clear up in Washington, not even near me. I got arrested in 1999. So they arrested me based on gossip until they could figure out what the truth was. Whatever. Well, when they arrested me, the cops searched the house. They found paperwork or whatever with Sapphire written down on it. And they put down in my papers that my alias was Sapphire. And so after I got out of jail and I found out that they were doing that, I was like, you know what, I might as well use it as an alias, because technically it's already a legal alias because it's in legal documents, right? So I kept using it. And so anyway, and then in 2003, is that right? No, 2013, I had been wanting to write for a very long time. I used to write all the time when I was younger, but I wanted to get something published. And so in 2013, I released 3 books on the same day, and I decided I needed a publishing company, and I didn't want to go through anyone else. So I created Saphire Publishing, again, 1P, because it just felt more like me. And so I created Saphire Publishing, and I started publishing my books, and then I started editing other people's books and publishing their books. And then even when I did the adult book, it's an erotic fantasy book, I put it under the name Sapphire Hoover, so it wouldn't accidentally get mixed in or get people confused and have somebody that's looking at one of the kids' books pick it up by accident. And so I used the name Sapphire for that book. I've been sitting here lately thinking about it, and it's like, I know there's people out there that think I misspelled it by accident, because I've had people question me about it, and it doesn't quite feel like me anymore. But at the same time, if I add the other P back in, that really doesn't feel like me. So I'm sticking with the original spelling, and maybe someday I will create a different company and eventually get rid of Sapphire Publishing, but I kind of like how it sounds. I just don't like how the word looks. So that's a little, I don't know. One of those things I just got to deal with until I decide what I want to do differently. So anyway, yeah, that's how I came up with the name Sapphire and how I came up with the spelling. I was disappointed. I think it was last year or year before, I got on Amazon and I typed in Sapphire Publishing, the way I spell it, and somebody else had created their own Sapphire Publishing with the same spelling a couple months earlier. And I was like so annoyed, because they put out like, I don't know, 50 some books that all looked the same, and basically all they were is journals for when you're like traveling or whatever, and each one was like for a different country or whatever, I don't even know, but it just totally flushed all my stuff out, and I haven't looked lately to see if they're still there. So if you go to Amazon looking for Sapphire Publishing and you see 50 books that are all the same, those are not mine. But you could always go to my other social media, like on here or my Facebook. I go by Stephanie M. Hoover here, as well as my Facebook. I don't know, maybe on Instagram too. I've lost track. I don't even know anymore. I quit using Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, because it was non-stop scammers like all day, every day. And Facebook's getting that way too, which is disappointing. But I do still have a couple thousand people on there that I interact with at times. So I got to put up with the scammers, I guess. But anyway, that's the story. And hopefully you'll understand and get it. I would love to hear about your guys' stories about your aliases, whether it was something given to you by your parent or a sibling or a grandparent, kids in school. I'd love to hear about it. I know my husband, he calls me a variety of different things, and it's kind of odd to me, because I'm not used to it, but you know, whatever makes him happy, I guess. So anyway, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Get your friends to do the same thing. And I will be back in a few days, because that's my new schedule. Not a real schedule, because I don't have set times, but it's a vague schedule, and it's going to help me get videos to you twice a week, minimum. So there we go. See you soon. Thanks. Bye.